I'd like to call to order Charter Township of Chesterfield regular Township Board meeting for Tuesday, November 29th, 2022 at 7 p.m. to order. Could we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Clerk Berry. Could you call the roll?
Supervisor Kersten.
Here.
Treasurer Elliott.
Here.
Trustee Anderson.
Here.
Trustee Joseph. Here. Trustee DeMink.
Here.
Trustee Vosberg. Here. Clerk Berry is here.
Item 4, approval of agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Support.
Motion by Clerk Berry, supported by Treasurer Elliott. Clerk Berry, call the roll.
Clerk Berry, aye. Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph. Aye. Trustee DeMink. Aye. Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye. Item 5, presentations. There are no presentations scheduled tonight. Item 6, department reports. We'll start out with department reports. Trustee DeMink.
This is from Leisure Services. The Chesterfield Leisure Services Department is hiring a recreation coordinator. The preferred candidate has experience in coordinating youth sports, summer camps, special events. You can visit the township website at chesterfieldtownship.org to apply online and read a full job description. Next, Santa comes to town. Join us this Thursday evening to welcome Santa to the Chesterfield Township. Tree lighting, horse-drawn carriage rides, hot cocoa bar giveaways, and visits with Santa. This is an outdoor event. Please dress for the weather. Thursday, December 1st, Township offices. Santa arrives at 7 p.m. All activities begin at 6:30. Next, the winter 2023 registration. Registration opens December 8th for all programs taking place in the winter 2023 season, January through April. Visit the chesterfieldtownship.org website or follow the Parks and Recreation Department on Facebook to see all the offered programs and events. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you, Trustee DeMink. Board comments. Trustee Joseph.
Just a update from the Public Safety Advisory Committee. As the board is aware, Trustee Anderson and I meet with the public safety team, and our most recent meeting on November 17th, I have a number of issues that I'd like to share with the board and the public. Number of updates in the fire department regarding equipment. If you recall, we've discussed Truck 3, which is in the final phase of an engine rebuild and will undergo pump testing and be ready to go quite quickly is the plan. Quint 1 was scheduled to be sold. If you recall, we talked about this was the equipment that was sold to Reamer, Tennessee. And we have a broker fee, which is money well spent given the revenue that we were able to generate with the sale of that vehicle. So great job to the fire department for that. Director Bassett reported that it'll be the long-awaited arrival of Rescue 2 will be with us. It is set to arrive in Grand Rapids, where it will receive its final prep, then lettered, and the equipment will be mounted and installed before being stationed at the 22-mile fire station. The fire department accreditation process is underway. This is a process very similar to the accreditation that went on in the police department. As you recall, it was a very, very extensive process. This is a 3-year timeline that will involve the Chesterfield Fire Department receiving assessments in over 90 separate areas. When complete, the Chesterfield Fire Department will have the best possible information on how to address not only risk of fire, but chemical spills, medical emergencies, collisions, severe weather incidents, and many other threats to safety. Something very exciting at the police department regarding the Milo training. And for those of you unaware, Milo is a state-of-the-art shooting range, and it has a simulated live fire training system. It is designed to provide training to the officers for critical incident training, de-escalation, decision support training, as well as tactical judgment training and firearms proficiency training. The system is a customizable video that the officers engage a number of scenarios. So when Trustee Anderson and I had our walkthrough, the exercise was the weapon that is used for the training feels and is weighted just like the equipment that is used by the police officers. It has a simulated recoil, so recoil, in that it has CO2 canisters that when you pull the trigger, it feels like you are firing, so it's as lifelike as you can get. And the video screen is programmed to receive the signal from the firearm. So in the exercise that Trustee Anderson and I did, there was a scenario with a potential hostage, and it kind of a semicircle screen, and you engage this perpetrator with a hostage, and there are others, and so the officers go through this exercise with certified training Milo trainers, Chesterfield PD, who have received comprehensive training in Milo, and it can walk you through scenarios that they would not otherwise be able to get that kind of simulation. One of the very amazing features is that the videos, which the Milo team provides, is also customizable. So the scenarios that were really quite interesting to us is they could take a video of a local school or a township building or any business in our community and program in any scenario they wanted to. And the idea is that the officer would then be, if God forbid ever needed to respond to a school or a building, would have some recollection of what is in the building. It was really a phenomenal training device, and I want the township residents to know how worthwhile that expenditure was. Our Chesterfield PD safety officer, Amanda DePape, continues to work at the Anchor Bay with the Anchor Bay School District, and her role there continues to evolve. Outstanding feedback from the administration at the school, and she is now partnering with the security force that is present in the Anchor Bay School District and looking to define and more clearly define and expand her role. Director Bassett is in negotiation with Anchor Bay to clarify that, and it is very good news to hear what excellent work Officer DePape is doing over there. The Citizens Academy, most recent class, actually graduated today, and another great program that Officer DePape heads up for us. Lastly, I would like to welcome back Officer Nickerson, who has served not only this township as a police officer, but is active duty military and is returning from a one-year deployment. And I would like to thank Officer Nickerson not only for his service to our nation, but as well as our township, and just say, welcome home, Officer Nickerson, sorry. There were a couple of other personnel issues, and Trustee Anderson and I kind of share responsibilities on the liaison committee, and there were a couple of things that I wanted to, that he wanted to share. He sits in on the oral board, so I'll turn it over to you, and if you wouldn't mind mentioning the December 3rd, and then the other event is the 4th. Yeah, and those yeah, I'm sorry, I'll just go ahead and give it to you. We have two fundraisers involving Chesterfield PD. One is on this Saturday, December 3rd. That is the hockey game between the Sheriff's Department and the fabulous, I think, Trustee Domingue, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we have a couple of officers that were part of the Miracle on Ice in the '80 Olympics. So they got some real talented Chesterfield officers, and the real prize there is original Wickersham playing for the Sheriff's Department, and the up-and-coming first-round draft pick, Wickersham, who is an officer with our department. So you don't want to miss that, and details can be found on the township website, in addition to an event on December 4th involving a charity event. We got a comedian coming in, and he's going to be over at Sunday December 4th at the Middle School South. Again, details and flyers can be found on the Township website, and I'll turn the rest over to you, Trustee Anderson.
Thank you, sir. Currently, there are several members of the public safety are contemplating retirement in the next year or so. The Chesterfield Township Police Department recently conducted sergeant's exams in order to fill any future openings for the rank of sergeants. There were 10 qualified applicants that had passed the exam, and the next thing will be an oral board scheduled for December the 6th currently. As of November 17th, when we had our meeting, there were a number of staff openings in the public safety, including part-time clerical and dispatch, several vacant police officer positions, and several part-time firefighter positions. If you're interested, applicants can find employment information on the Township website. Recruiting and hiring candidates continues to be difficult, especially in the time in which we live here. Director Bassett is out in the community, local and surrounding, in search of qualified recruits. Chesterfield Public Safety has participated in recruitment events at Macomb, Oakland, Schoolcraft, and Mott Community Colleges, as well as job fairs at Anchor Bay High School and Macomb. As it was mentioned earlier, it's very difficult getting a hold of high-quality candidates. For example, between January and March, they had 17 applicants that were interviewed with one hire. An applicant goes through, for like police department, they have to have currently they have to have their certification, have been through an academy, certified. They go through oral board process. If that is still successful, a background check is held. And if they are offered a position, they accept it. It's still 6 months from the point in which they become a member of the police department before they're available for road patrol when it comes to an internal training process, as well as seeing how well the fit is for the department. Let's skip down here a little bit. We also, lastly, another innovative recruiting tool is producing results is our police department cadet program. Since recruiting began in this July, the department has 22 applicants retired, and resulting in 6 newly hired cadets. The program allows cadets the opportunity to experience firsthand the rigors of police work by working alongside officers without first having to make the financial time and commitment to the police academy completion. The township benefits by ensuring the quality committed recruits with the skills and talents required to be a Chesterfield Township police officer. And finally, Director Bassett is also, besides the police and the Department of Public Safety, is also in charge of the police and the fire department. He will be attending an 11-week fire academy that's only offered twice a year beginning this February for 11 weeks in order to get that qualification. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and just to close up by saying thank you to the board for the patience. We haven't had a meeting in several months, so there was a lot of things to cover. We do have our next meeting December 7th, and these updates will be a little more brief, but a lot of very exciting things happening, so appreciate the board's patience and the public, and I hope it was found to be informative, but Director Bassett doing a great job. Thank you.
Thank you. Clerk Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. From the clerk's office did conduct another one of our late-night passports that allowed individuals to come in and apply for a new passport, as well as passport photos between 4:30 and 7:30, and we serviced over 30 applicants for passports and processed that evening. We have another passport night that is scheduled for those who cannot come in during regular business hours on December the 8th. That is Thursday, December the 8th, again from 4:30 to 7:30. Clerk's office will be open strictly for passport processing. We highly recommend, because of the high demand, that anyone who wants to come in during that period of time does go to our website and register online to make sure to hold your spot. So that you don't risk losing that to someone else who already is on the list. Walk-ins are, of course, welcome. However, we only have so much time, and it takes so long. We can only process about 40 applications during that period of time with the staff we have allocated for that, so please be aware of that. Also, the clerk's department has been getting several calls regarding dog licenses. So the board is aware we do have an ordinance in Chesterfield Township, Section 10-2 under Article 1 that does require dog licenses. We do not issue those in the clerk's office. Those are issued by Macomb County. So anyone who is inquiring as to how to comply with that ordinance, they need to obtain a dog license through Macomb County. Also, please remind everyone that dogs must be restrained when they are out and about in public in the township. I've seen several dogs, especially here at the township offices, that are not on leashes, that are running with residents or the members of the public who are coming to walk or so forth, and those dogs do have to be restrained. So please keep that in mind as well. The Elections Department Clerk, Niza, is not with us in attendance today. She is at the Clerks Masters Academy in Mount Pleasant, and she is currently pursuing her Certified Municipal Clerk's certification. She is already a Michigan Professional Municipal Clerk certified clerk, but she is pursuing the International Institute of Municipal Clerks designation now. That is part of, and I'd like to thank the board for your support of our employees pursuing additional continuing education and ongoing certifications for us. That is, at the end of the day, going to result, again, in a higher level of service for those who we serve. Thank you so much, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you. There are no other department reports scheduled tonight, so we'll go to item 7, the consent agenda. Clerk Berry.
All items under the consent agenda are considered routine by the board and will be enacted in one motion. There is no separate discussion of these items. If discussion of any item is required by a board member, it will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. Public comments on the consent agenda items are permitted. 7A, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of November 15th, 2022. 7B, approval of the payment of bills is submitted by the Finance Department.
Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Clerk Berry, Supervisor Kersten will support. Comments? Sorry. Trustee Vosberg, do you have something? Comments from the public?
John Spica, 53978 Conner Drive. Couple questions in regards on the bill run. You can, I'd like some clarity on it. Under Trust and Agency Department, there was it's a reissue, and I've noticed a trend on checks being reissued. So this one here was issued on 8/30 of 22 and then reissued on 11/22 of 22. It's for $100 for Jessica Yakeley. So I was wondering if the treasurer can address that. With seeing all these reissues, I'm wondering if we're having an issue with checks being bounced again in the treasurer's office. So if you could explain that, I would appreciate it. And also, I noticed under the treasurer's office for the Macomb County Treasurer's Holiday Luncheon for $60 being charged to the residents. I mean, at over $100,000 a year, and the time that you take off, I think it would be an even thing. I wouldn't submit anything under $300, so I'd be embarrassed for that. And then I want to thank Clerk Berry's office for expediting my refund check. So clerk's office did a fabulous job. But before I cash that check, I'm going to clear it with Kathy Elliott because I don't want it to bounce. So, and then I'd like to thank Mr. Duchesne, AKA Fixer. He did a fabulous job on the bill run. I made a request at the last bill run to add the date on, an item. What we're paying for, so the taxpayers know what the dated item is, and he went ahead and did it. So, Trustee Joseph, it didn't end up being 300 pages, so it was a simple fix. Mr. Duchesne jumped on it immediately and got it handled by the next bill run, so I want to thank him. I appreciate that. That's it. Thank you.
Any further comments from the public? have a motion by Clerk Berry, supported by Supervisor Kersten, to approve the consent agenda as presented. Clerk Berry, would you call the roll?
Clerk Berry, aye. Supervisor
Mr.
Kersten.
Supervisor, I can acknowledge the question that was asked. A reissue is just that. Somebody has been issued a check and they didn't cash it, and then we'll call them and say, did you cash that check? And sometimes they lose them, and then we reissue them. So that is what a reissue is. Thank you.
I apologize. I don't think I offered it to you, so I apologize. I have a motion by Clerk Berry, supported by Supervisor Kersten, to approve the consent agenda as presented. Clerk Berry?
Clerk Berry, aye. Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Item 8A.
Item 8A is a recommendation from Supervisor Kersten to appoint the following board liaisons to the various township boards and commissions from November 25th, 2022 to December 31st, 2023.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Support.
Trustee Anderson, supported by Treasurer Elliott. Do you want to read each one, or how do you want to go through it? So, do you want me to just go to B? Item B, or? Okay, I don't, well, I don't have the item up here. Do we, hang on one second. Yeah. So I'll read the appointments. The boards and commissions from November 25th, 2022 to December 31st, 2023. The Elections Commission is Clerk Berry, Trustee Anderson, and Trustee Vosberg. Historical Society, Trustee Anderson. Board Liaison, Trustee Joseph. Library Board, Trustee Joseph. SEMCOG representatives, Treasurer Elliott as a delegate, Trustee Vosberg as an alternate. Parks and Rec Commission, Trustee Demink. And with that being said, any comments from the board? Comments from the board? Comments from the public? I have a motion by Trustee Anderson, supported by Treasurer Elliott, to approve the appointments as presented.
I think you should do this, and I think you should do all the rest together.
Ready to call the roll?
Yes.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Item 8B, and there's several of them here, so we're going to go through the list if you kind of give us some accommodations here when we read the name, and then I'll introduce you if you're here. Clerk Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Item 7B is a recommendation by Supervisor Kersten to reappoint Dr. Sarah Arena to the Parks and Recreation Commission with a term ending March 1, 2025.
Do I have a motion of support?
Motion to approve?
Berry.
Support.
Supported by Treasurer Elliott.
Point of clarity, do we need a roll call vote for these, or can we just, okay.
No, ayes and nays.
It might save some time.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sarah, are you here? You want to, obviously, everybody knows you. You've done a fine job, and appreciate you staying on board, so. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any comments from the board? Clerk Berry, call the roll. Or, pardon me? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Congratulations, sir. Thank you. Item 8C.
Item C is a recommendation by Supervisor Kersten to appoint John Nader to the Parks and Recreation Commission, filling the remaining term for Vicky Gray, ending June 1st, 2024.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So-
to approve.
Support.
Trustee Vosberg, and supported by Trustee Demink. Mr. Nader? Thank you. Thank you for participating. Any comments from the panel, from the board? None? All those in favor of the appointment?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, Mr. Nader, appreciate it. Item 8D.
Item D is a recommendation by Supervisor Kersten to reappoint David Jacobson to the Board of Review with a term ending December 31st, 2024.
So moved.
Support?
Motion by Trustee Demink, supported by Clerk Berry. And Mr. Jacobson could not make it here tonight. Any comments? Any input? All those, we'll take a roll call. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Jacobson. Thank you for your interest. Item 8E.
E is a recommendation by Supervisor Kersten to reappoint Brian Carr to the Planning Commission with a term ending June 1st, 2025.
So moved.
Motion by Trustee Demink.
Support.
Supported by Treasurer Elliott. And Mr. Carr could not make it here tonight. And again, I appreciate his offer to participate with this group. All those in favor of the appointment?
Aye.
Opposed? 8F.
8F is a recommendation by Supervisor Kersten to appoint Richard Bruckhart to the Planning Commission with a term ending June 1st, 2025.
Have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Clerk Berry, supported by Trustee Demink. Mr. Brokart, thank you very much. Appreciate you getting involved and participating. Any comments from the board? All those in favor of the appointment?
Aye.
All those opposed? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Item 8G.
Item 8G is a recommendation by Supervisor Kersten to reappoint Marc Reneau to the Planning Commission with a term ending June 1st, 2025.
All those in favor? Trustee Joseph, supported by
Support.
Trustee Vosberg. Trustee Anderson, I'm sorry. Mr. Reneau cannot make it here tonight. Again, I appreciate him staying involved in this group. All those in favor of the appointment?
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations, Mr. Reneau. Item 8H.
Item 8H is a recommendation by Supervisor Kersten to reappoint Marc Reneau to the Board of Review with a term ending December 31st, 2024.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Clerk Berry, supported by Trustee Joseph. Again, Mr. Reneau couldn't be here tonight. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item 8I.
Item 8I is a recommendation by Supervisor Kersten to appoint Samantha Hickey to the Board of Review with a term ending January 1st, 2020, with a term of January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2024.
Have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support.
Clerk Berry, supported by Trustee Vosberg. And Ms. Hickey, you are here? Thank you. All those in favor of the appointment?
Aye.
Opposed? And item 8J.
8J is a recommendation by Supervisor Kersten to appoint Samantha Hickey to the Zoning Board of Appeals with a term ending September 1st, 2025.
Do I have a motion to approve? Trustee Vosberg, supported by Supervisor Kersten. And again, Samantha, thank you. Appreciate it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And item 8K.
K is a recommendation by Supervisor Kersten to reappoint William Smith to the Zoning Board of Appeals with a term ending June 1st, 2025.
Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Clerk
Support.
Berry, supported by Treasurer Elliott. Mr. Smith? Thank you very much, sir. All those in favor of the appointment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations to all the appointees, and I appreciate the participation. The board and the community appreciates the participation. Item 8L.
8L is a recommendation by Supervisor Kersten to execute an agreement between the Michigan Department of Transportation and Chesterfield Township for reimbursement at an annual amount of $14,000 for maintenance of the I-94 and 23-mile interchange for 5 months from May through September.
Do I have a motion? Trustee Joseph, supported by Supervisor Kersten. And a little history on this. What we've done, Josh, you'd fill in any voids that I have. What we did, this is part of the cleanup of the 23-mile road I-94 interchange. What we're specifically doing here is partnering with MDOT to mow and maintain and clean up the interchange area maintenance-wise, and the reimbursement from MDOT will come back to the township for the time and hours that we spend there. We have a contract vendor that has agreed to the pricing. You can see the green space area up on the screen. We will not be mowing in the center median of the freeway. We're just doing the loops in the interchange area. And again, this will be the first year that we've done this. Want to take a look at cleaning it up and making it a little bit more presentable than what it's been over the years. And we'll evaluate this at the end of the summer and see if, number one, if it's worthwhile. Number two, what the cost is. And to be honest with you, the MDOT's been more than willing to partner with us and help us in this area. They want to keep it clean also. So did I miss anything, Josh? Covered it?
Mr. Supervisor, just a quick question.
Yes.
These contract vendors, they're on a list approved by MDOT because of the safety concerns and so forth. This isn't like we could just hire, you know, a vendor that maybe mows a field or something like
Correct.
that. There's some danger potentially there, and so the price kind of reflects that, I'm assuming?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions from the board? Comments from the public? Seeing no comments from the public, I'll bring it back up to the board. I have a motion by Trustee Joseph, supported by Supervisor Kersten, to approve item 8L. Clerk Berry.
Trustee Joseph. Aye. Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee DeMink.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Item 8M.
Item 8M is to approve a recommendation by the Facilities and Operations Department to purchase material to construct ADA picnic tables for township parks in an amount not to exceed $30,000.
A motion to approve.
So moved.
Support?
Trustee DeMink, supported by Clerk Berry. Mr. Sonnenberg, if you would.
Good afternoon. So this is a planned purchase. We've been working on this since last year in our budget. Our goal here is, as you know, we have lots of parks and green spaces. We have over 100 picnic tables. And our picnic tables were kind of constructed in an old way with old 2x12s. And when you drag them and pull them, they drag on the ground, they're hard to move around, and the bottom kind of rots out. They become sharp, and year after year, what we've done here is kind of add another coat of paint, add another coat of paint. Well, we got so much paint that it really isn't doing us any good. These new picnic tables, as you can see by the frames, couple things. One, they provide an ADA space, which is fantastic, and two, they last a lot longer. Three, they're easier for us to move around. Because we're constantly moving picnic tables from different pavilions. I mean, we have a tractor that does the heavy lifting, but still you slide them a little bit, you move them as people kind of set up their picnic areas. It makes a lot more sense. So we're excited about this purchase. I know it's a lot of money, $30,000, but if you look at the amount of picnic tables we have, this is kind of, we've done our homework and it makes the most sense for us now. So we're excited to get this done, and we're excited to kind of mention that we got a lot of volunteers that are going to participate in actually putting these picnic tables together. So we're excited about that as well.
Comments from the board? Any comments from the public?
John Spica, 53978 Connor Drive. I'm excited about the purchase. he didn't break it down. I'd like to know exactly where the majority of them are gonna go. I'm gonna presume probably Brandenburg Park, because they're the worst in my opinion. My concern though is proper maintenance. We seem to be lacking. He talked about the picnic tables that are out there, but they haven't been properly maintained, at least minimum, for the last 6 years. So what's going to happen to these? We need to have a plan in place to properly maintain these new picnic tables, especially at, you know, $30,000. So I think that should be part of the game plan, which typically it's not, so I'm going to mention it. Thank you.
Any further comments from the public? Seeing no comments from the public, I have a motion by Trustee Joseph, please.
On the front end, we're looking at 59 tables in total, and the lumber needed for these is a separate purchase. It is the, or am I not reading it right? There's a purchase order or invoice from Lowe's.
I apologize, the breakdown is, there is, the galvanized table frames are broken down for $24,000. Freight is expensive because there's a lot of parts and pieces, which is $2,714. Lowe's lumber is $3,079. So this will be fully constructed. And then to the point of maintenance, you know, when we put these together, all the edges will be routed, sanded, sealed. This is 101 stuff. The problem you have with before is when an edge isn't routed or sealed, they fray, they crack, they cause problems. So we do have a plan. This is pretty simple stuff. You do it right, they'll last a long time.
The other follow-up question I had is just to give an idea of the like existing inventory of usable picnic tables, and what percentage of this, you know, replaces our you know, existing inventory.
So a couple things, great question. One, when you drive by Brandenburg Park over the last couple winters, you'll see they used to be, all the picnic tables used to be stacked outside.
Yes.
In the parking lot, rain, sleet, snow beats them up. You'll see this year when you drive by Brandenburg Park, we made a conscious effort to start stacking the picnic tables under all the pavilions. There's about 20 picnic tables under each pavilion, which helps prevent the weather, the snow from just sitting on them over the winter. So that was always our goal, you know, to kind of get a plan moving forward. I would say this basically takes care of the worst of our picnic tables. We will get a value add. We will get some additional picnic tables out of that bunch from Brandenburg. We're going to take all the good ones. We're going to put a few more out Pollard. We only have one at Salt River Nature Center. We would add a couple there.
Right.
We would use our old picnic tables once we, you know, see they're okay. And then they're, like I said, a lot of volunteers love to come out and paint those old picnic tables, but there's just too much coat to paint on some of them. We just need to replace them, and that's why we're here.
So last question, in terms of like, there's a sort of a, they stack together, the existing tables kind of stack together, take up minimal space. You put a lot of, these are like in terms of efficiency, and I'm sure you looked into that when you purchased them. They stack together safely?
We kind of lean them on, each table leans on the next table's first bench, if it makes sense. So they kind of
Yeah,
all go at an
got it.
angle, so that's
Okay.
about the best way you can stack them, yes. Same as our existing tables.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further comments from the board? Questions from the board? I have a motion by Trustee Domingue, supported by Clerk Berry, to approve item 8M. Clerk Berry?
Trustee Domingue?
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Anderson?
Aye.
Trustee Joseph?
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg?
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott?
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten?
Aye.
Thank you.
Item 8N.
Item 8N is to approve a recommendation by Public Services to adopt Resolution Number 2022-30 for the 2022 Sidewalk Replacement Program Special Assessment District, confirming the special assessment role and providing for collection in annual installments, which is the final determination of approval.
I have a motion to approve. Supervisor Kersten will make a motion to approve the resolution.
Second.
Clerk Berry, support. Mr. Kosiar, thank you. You want to address this? This is kind of a cleanup, right?
Yes. Yeah, no, this is just to approve the final assessment, the final roll, and kind of a good recap of what the program was this year. We had 449 properties that were included in this year's program. About 419 took advantage of the assessment, so about 30 ended up doing their own construction. Overall, went really well. You know, typical construction. We had a few complaints here and there, but overall, I think the program is improving year over year.
Thank you. Bring it back up to the board. Trustee Joseph.
I don't know how many complaints you had. If you had a few, I think I talked to them all then. And the one guy who was most upset, was he finally satisfied in terms of, have we resolved all of these? Because part of the problem we had was the equipment used to extract the pads that were damaged were really, they were utilized in order to maximize the efficiency for the vendor. And what I mean by that is the equipment was quite heavy, and it was not something that could just sort of be utilized from the sidewalk. It tore up tremendous amounts of grass, unloading it from the street and getting it to the actual sidewalk. And so the individual that, you know, spoke to me was quite upset. He spends a lot of time on his lawn. You know, if it's green, it's grass to me. I'm not that guy, but he, you know, is quite proud of his lawn. He spends a lot of time on it. And there was a lot of surrounding, you know, turf that was destroyed. And he said that when he first made the call, we made some calls, and he said that somebody came out and they put what wasn't topsoil, but they kind of spread it out, and then they threw some seed on top of that. And he said by the time the vendors got in their truck, the birds had taken his lawn away. And it seems to me like we should do a better job of making sure that we're returning, you know, they're paying for the sidewalk. He pays for the sidewalk. And then, you know, a good chunk of his lawn is destroyed, and that just doesn't seem right to me. So when we spoke, and I apologize to this particular resident, but I don't know if he got frustrated and just said, you know, hell with it, or did we make it right? And the last word I had was we were not going to release final payment to the vendor until all complaints were resolved, you know, satisfactorily. So are you satisfied that all of the complaints were handled and the impacted residences were kind of made whole?
Yeah, I believe so. We've been back to that resident several times, and there's going to be a handful like that where the equipment to get in and out of there, it can be destructive to lawns at times. They try their best to not do that, but the clause in the contract includes restoration until we're satisfied, and we don't release payment until they've finalized all those punch list items, which to date we have not final paid them yet.
Thank you.
The resident you're speaking to, Trustee Joseph, we spent a lot of time going back and forth with him just to make sure that he was satisfied. Thank you. Thank you. Any further comments from the board? Comments from the public? Seeing no comments from the public, I have a motion by Supervisor Kersten, supported by Clerk Berry, to approve item 8N. Clerk Berry?
Supervisor Kersten?
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Anderson?
No.
Trustee Joseph?
No.
Trustee Demink?
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg?
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott?
Aye.
Item 8O.
8O is to approve a recommendation by Public Services to authorize Spalding to Decker to move forward with the 2023 Sidewalk Replacement Program evaluations and contractor bidding for future board evaluation.
I have a motion to approve. Supervisor Kersten will make a motion to approve.
Support. Did you need support?
Yep. Trustee Vosberg, support. Gentlemen?
All right, so this is the proposal to move forward with Zone 3. So we've done Zone 1, Zone 2. This will be the next zone, continuing along the same pattern, assessing, identifying those number 5 defects, and sending out the initial letters to the homeowners, letting them know they have defects, what the process is to replace them on their own, and then putting together contract bid documents and getting pricing again from contractors.
Thank you, sir. Comments from the board?
Just a quick one for those that may be new to this. Can you define, just speak on a level 5? You look in the board packet, we have 4 criteria with A through E in some categories regarding the lip between slabs, cracking, cross slope, and longitudinal slope. Can you just briefly, how do you arrive at a evaluation for number 5 defects? What principally needs to be present in order to be a number 5 defect?
Yeah, no problem. So the defects that you're talking about, anything that is a letter B or above or number 1 or above is a defect per ADA standards. Obviously, if we went ahead and did all defects that are ADA standards, we'd be replacing most of the sidewalk in the township. So we have to pick a level that's most egregious or that would most likely cause a trip hazard, which is how we wound up at the number 5s. That was part of the process of going through the program guide and coming up with the criteria of how to get there. All of those criteria are measurements, so we physically go out and measure the lips if it's 2 inches and above. We go and measure the slopes if it's 6% or more. We go and measure the ponding of water if it's greater than 3/4 of an inch or more. So they're all physical measurements, and they are collected in GIS. We keep records of that as well as pictures, addresses, the whole nine.
So just a quick follow-up, and it's more directed towards our township attorney. When we engaged this process under the first zone, there were a number of questions about, why are we, putting this fairly significant bill on the residents, and we're breaking it out into multiple zones, and we do one per year, and I think have been okay in terms of managing the volume of, but as I understood it, this was a necessity potentially because the township lacked any real meaningful direction as it related to sidewalk problems, and there were ADA concerns and trip and fall concerns, and that if the township didn't take some kind of action, that there potentially is liability. So I guess from a legal standpoint, are we satisfactorily protected at a level 5 defect number 5? Because if the goal is to minimize potential litigation and more importantly harm to the residents, how do you arrive at level 5 being the threshold? And is that a threshold that from an industry standard protects us if there was litigation? And I don't know if Ms. Anderson wants to address that or how, but I was just curious about the level 5 designation.
Well, unfortunately, we have not been involved in any of the meetings that have been leading up to this, so I'm not familiar with the level 5 designation, but I can tell you that the township does have liability if a sidewalk discontinuity is more than 2 inches. There's a potential of liability there.
Okay. So then I guess the follow-up then is, does the level 5 address the concerns that our township attorneys laid out?
Yeah, so the township attorney was obviously involved in the program guide and involved in the ranking and what we should do from level 1 through 5. The idea was that if you have a program, your chances of liability are less than if you don't have a program. We could certainly go after all of those all the way up to a level 1, but that's quite a bit more money per resident. I think we were looking just for the minimum level of coverage here in order to stay out of liability.
Any further comments? Comments from the public?
John Speaka, 53978 Connor Drive. I agree with Trustee Joseph. I think we should have started off at a level 5 and worked down to cut the liability down on the township. And then what I didn't hear addressed is, and which I believe to be true, and I thought I saw this, but we're still at that 25% fee. I think we're paying Spalder deductor, which means whatever the total cost of the concrete replacement is for the resident, 25% is going to go to Spalding deductor, if I'm correct. Thank you.
Any further comments from the public? Bring it back up to the board. I have a motion by Supervisor Kersten, supported by Trustee Vosberg, to approve item 8O. Clerk Barry.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
No.
Trustee Joseph.
No.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Clerk Barry, aye.
Item 8P,
Item 8P is to approve a recommendation by Public Services to purchase 61 3/4-inch meters and 2 1-inch meters from Ferguson Waterworks for developments completing construction in winter/spring of 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Demink, supported by clerk Berry. Sir?
We're looking to seek approval for the recommendation to purchase 61 3/4-inch meters and 2 1-inch meters. Last year, well actually this year of 2022, up to November 1st, we've installed 53 3/4-inch meters already. We have Delano Place, which is going to be moving forward with their development and going to be requiring more 3/4-inch meters out there. And since January 22, when we last approached the board to make the 3/4-inch meter purchase, the price of those meters has gone up $18.25. And so we want to get in there and get that purchase now before the price increases keep coming. And they are commenting lead times into April for the meters. So we want to get our inventory up and have it ready for the coming developments.
Thank you, sir. Comments from the board?
Trustee Anderson and I, I'm sorry, Trustee Anderson and I were just wondering, this employee is new to us, so we didn't, we were wondering, so if you could maybe just,
Yep. Sorry, my name is Paul Kosier, the Assistant Director over at DPS.
Ah, okay. Well, welcome, Assistant Director. We would have liked to have welcomed you, but thanks. Welcome.
Any comments from the public? Bring it back up to the board. I have a motion by trustee Demink, supported by clerk Berry, to approve item 8P. Clerk Berry?
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye. Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye. Item 8Q.
Item 8Q is to approve a recommendation by Department of Public Services to authorize the Township Supervisor and Township Clerk to execute a water service agreement between Chesterfield Township and Lenox Township as prepared by the Township Attorney for the property at 37887 26 Mile Road.
Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve as stated.
Clerk Berry, supported by Supervisor Kersten. Mr. Assistant Director Kosier, you want to address this?
Yes, we were approached by Lenox Township. The property at the corner of County Line and 26 is Lenox Township property, but they are currently on a well system. The gas station there is looking to expand and would like to have a water service installed into their, to get off the well system. And we were approached by Lenox Township. We have 3 other intergovernmental agreements between us and Lenox where they provide water to our residents where we do not have water main. This is the same situation here in Lenox. They do not provide water main to this location. And so we're seeking this agreement for an intergovernmental agreement in order to be able to supply water to this address.
Thank you, sir. And just to follow up, this was all vetted through our legal counsel, correct?
Yes, yep, we worked with Mr. Siebert hand in hand through the whole process.
Thank you. Any comments from the board? Trustee? Comments from the public? Seeing no comments from the public, I'll bring it back up to the board. I have a motion by Clerk Berry, supported by Supervisor Kersten, to approve item 8Q as stated. Clerk Berry?
Clerk Berry, aye. Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Mr. Supervisor, I approve this vote. Just a follow-up question. Who bills, which municipality sends the bill to the customer, do you know?
We do.
Okay, thank you.
Chesterfield Township will.
I apologize. I should have made that clear. It's like they're our customer.
Thank you.
Item 8R.
Item 8R is to approve a recommendation from the Department of Public Safety to extend the information technology support contract with Porter & Black for 1 year in the amount of $140,400, effective January 1, 2023 through December 31st, 2023.
Motion to approve.
So moved.
Trustee Demink, supported by Trustee Anderson. Director Bassett? Anything to add to this?
Nope, this is just a request for an extension for 1 year with our IT group, Porter and Black.
Comments from the board? Comments from the public?
John Speaka, 53978 Connor Drive. I fully support this. Public safety, again, is a top priority of mine, and we need to move forward with it. Thank you.
Any further comments from the public? I have a motion by trustee Mink, supported by trustee Anderson, to approve item 8R as presented. Clerk Berry?
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph. Aye. Trustee Vosberg. Aye. Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Clerk Berry, aye.
Item 8Fs.
Item 8S is adopt resolution number 2022-31, adopting the 2023 Charter Township of Chesterfield regular board meeting calendar.
I have a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Clerk Berry, Supervisor Kersten will support. Comments from the board? Trustee Vosberg.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I have a request for 3 changes. Do you want in the form of a amendment, or just make, I'll state the change, you can,
Sorry, state the changes and we can go ahead and make
should-
those on adoption, yep.
I'll go in order of months. February, there will be no Historical Society meeting, which is on the February 6th. And then in July, the Historical Society will meet on July 10 instead of July 3. And then at the last ZBA meeting, when we were aware of this calendar, would like to have changed the November 22 meeting to November 15 instead, so that we will not be meeting the night before Thanksgiving.
Is that was it? Okay. Clerk Berry, you want to address that?
We have the statement on those 3 changes, and they'll be made to the calendar.
And I'll continue support for the changes on, as requested. Comments from the board? Comments from the public? No comments from the public. I'll bring it back to the board. I have a motion by Clerk Berry, supported by Supervisor Kersten, to approve item 8S with the requested changes from trustee Vosberg. Clerk Berry.
Clerk Berry, aye. Supervisor Kersten.
Aye.
Trustee Anderson.
Aye.
Trustee Joseph.
Aye.
Trustee Demink.
Aye.
Trustee Vosberg.
Aye.
Treasurer Elliott.
Aye.
Item 9, public hearings. There are no public hearings. Item 10, addendums. There are none. Item 11, public comments. There is a 5-minute time limit. If you would, when you approach the mic, please state your name for the record, and the clock will begin as you speak. Comments from the public.
Good evening, Township Board and Chesterfield Township residents. My name is John Speaka. I reside at 53978 Connor Drive. At the last township meeting, Trustee Vosberg had mentioned, Trustee Vosberg kept saying that my concern at the last board meeting was Trustee Vosberg kept addressing David Joseph as the supervisor on multiple occasions. This draws deep concerns and flashbacks to me on multiple issues or options when they were being considered by this board by Trustee Vosberg, getting confused and disoriented. So I hope we cleared that up, and I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. And next couple of weeks, there's going to be a budget that we're going to be in here for, that we're going to be discussing. I had mentioned at the last township board meeting, I didn't think it was a good idea to do it on the same night that we were having a regular meeting, but that's when we're having it. And just a quick reminder, I just want to thank all the election workers that came out supported democracy and did a great job in this township. I want to personally thank you. Last board meeting, there was a ton of misinformation and inaccurate statements that were being tossed around by several board members. The board members included Kathy Elliott, Kathy Vosberg, the board-appointed incumbent supervisor, Brad Kersten, and Mr. Demink. Treasurer Elliott, still to this day, gets confused on policies and procedure, but she forgets that she is the title-holding queen of the most bounced checks in Chesterfield Township history, and the only candidate that I know to ever file a false police report against a sitting treasurer over 2 years ago against Mr. LaFata. Trustee Joseph, you had mentioned don't tax and trash. That subject came up. There were 2 individuals from the board that were, on my belief, involved with that, and I have no proof, but if you could give us a follow-up. They had 48 hours to respond on where the $10,000 came from. So if you could follow up on that, I would appreciate it. Just a quick refresher. At the last board meeting, Trustee Joseph, you had apologized to the board-appointed incumbent supervisor about his vote when it came to cannabis. How that went down that day is when we were in here, and I think it was the end of May and the first week of June, when the cannabis vote came up, and the vote went down by 1 vote. And my belief on what happened was, and I'm going to refresh your memory, is I believe that the board-appointed incumbent supervisor was going to vote for it. But when the former supervisor, Mr. Accavetti, came in, and he only stayed about 5 or 7 minutes. He came in the middle of the discussion. He sat in the back and just watched what was going on and didn't say anything. So when he came in, that was a clear cue, in my opinion, to tell the board-appointed incumbent supervisor not to vote for it. So again, it goes back to my strong belief that Mr. Accavetti is the puppet master and Brad's the puppet and still controls the purse strings on what's going on here in this township. And that was a prime example. So, Trustee Joseph, back in May and June, when the vote went down for cannabis, then it went to the public, and the public voted for it. And I know at the last township board meeting, you wanted to know, if we were going to move forward. And it looks like we're going to move forward, and everybody's on the same page as far as figuring out a game plan and a strategy. And then my other question to the board-appointed incumbent supervisor is, I noticed when I was going through your filings, in Macomb County, I noticed we had an Anchor Bay Chamber, an event that we went to, and at that event, you didn't pay your $50. I was wondering if you were going to pay your $50 at that event.
Any further comments from the public that are relevant? Any further comments from the public? Bring it back up to the board. Trustee Anderson.
Thank you. First thing, from the genesis of the sidewalk project, I didn't support it. I don't believe there's fairness in the way it's funded by our residents. In reference to tonight's agenda 8N and 8O, in no way am I questioning either the professionalism or the credibility of the vendors involved in the massive township sidewalk replacement program. With that said, I would still wonder why the board majority would opt to saddle our residents with these potential expenses during these questionable economic times. It negatively impacts wallets and tax bills. In the near future, this board majority will decide how the $13 million 20-year bond issue, including a county line to 26-mile sewer project, will be funded. One can only guess how and by whom that will happen. Stay tuned. Thank you.
Trustee Joseph.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. With regard to the question I did raise about the tax and trash, I don't know the resolution. It is still in the county clerk's office. That group was issued an error and omission statement indicating that the PAC that they referenced has no existence in Macomb County, and the clerk Forlini had sent a letter indicating that clarification was due and a error and omission filing was due on 11/16. Most recent check of the clerk's office, county clerk's office, indicates that that error and omission has not been filed. So I have no follow-up. I am concerned. I am concerned about the collaboration, and I spoke on it at length, and I don't think I need to repeat it. But there was, considerable concern about how cannabis and the fight against the library and cannabis and some of the other initiatives were kind of muddled together. And in my opinion, as I stated for far too long at the last board meeting, that I felt there were board members who put us behind the 8 ball on that particular issue. And I did, as you recall, single Supervisor Kersten, who really, I think, had a legitimate reason to vote no, given that he had not been voted in by the people. That's a very weighted decision, and I think I understand his position to say, I'd like to have affirmation from the residents before I make a decision like that. So my apology to him was, I was harsh after the vote. I'm still very frustrated as I watch it unfold, because as I said, I'm quite certain that we were in a stronger position under the proposed plan that I brought, which regulated and limited and had some clear insight with a maximum number of dispensaries, no more than 5. And if you recall, that also included a township property that would have been sold with a potential license for, or not the license, but the zoning for a dispensary, which I think could have brought tremendous amount of retail value back to the township. Unfortunately, that plan was voted down 4-3, and now we're in a much weakened position in terms of trying to stay out of court and defend against any number of what I had predicted, Clerk Berry had predicted, Trustee Anderson had predicted, which we hope doesn't occur, which was the Wild West of cannabis and a limited ability to regulate in the way we were this past spring. I don't think I could have been more direct on that, and I was very disappointed at the lack of understanding and involvement and education. I do know from a couple of very reputable cannabis entrepreneurs, business owners who own several other businesses, that the day after our board meeting, Treasurer Elliott went out and began the process of understanding cannabis by way of visiting various sites. Adding to that, the day after the election, I called Supervisor Kersten to congratulate him, and then we spoke about the plan forward as it relates to cannabis. He assembled a very quick meeting, which took place several days after, and we drilled down on a date to put all the relevant players in the same room, which is very difficult to do during the holidays and during a budget. There's a lot of things going on. But to his credit, Supervisor Kersten was able to get our planning consultant and our planning commission, and we will hold a public meeting tomorrow, a special meeting, which really in my time here is really unheard of. It's very difficult to get that many people together, but it was a priority of the supervisors, and I think we're going to be able to craft the best possible plan because of the expedience and the urgency that the supervisor is leading us on now. He is no longer board appointed or incumbent. I don't know. He was elected by the people, and he is now, I think, been given the responsibility by way of an election to serve and lead. So I think he's in a exactly where he needs to be. I don't have a comment on the balance of your theories, and I'll just leave it at that. The last thing I would like to say is I would like to thank the township employees. The last few weeks I've had an opportunity to talk to many of them in several different departments for issues that I was following up on. And as is always the case, no matter what department I call and I look for information, I'm always treated very well. And some of these department heads and some of the individuals that, despite my taking them to task on issues over the years or even most recently, they never allow personal feelings to mix in with their professionalism. And most noted to me, and I don't know of a township employee that I have been more direct, and some people, Trustee Vosberg, find me a bit abrasive, and I've had these meetings with Ms. Bauer, and they've been very, very, they're spirited. And I called her with some questions about the budget, and again, true to her nature, always professional, always patient, always very informative, as is her staff. And as we're speaking of staff, Mr. Supervisor, I appreciate the notice that goes out, advising us of promotions and transfers and people going from different departments. And I did ask for, an update on new employees. I was a little embarrassed as Trustee Anderson and I were wondering about the assistant director. And again, we can't fix everything overnight, but I did appreciate you saying like this will be a regular part of updates as we bring new hires on. They'll be shared with the board. The staff are the most critical element to good governance. They are here to serve the residents. All of our collective tax money pooled together that go into the various departments, and they are, our department is called Human Resources, and they are the most valuable resource that we have. And I'm disappointed when I hear there are employees that continually run into problems with the department head or the elected official in that department. And I'm really getting tired of it, and I'm not here every day. I don't know all of the problems, but when Mr. Duchesne, I think when you're constantly trying to backfill and handle requests from one department who cannot maintain staff, and you hear things like hostile work environment, and you hear things like, I can't work in this department, and they either leave or beg for a transfer. That's got to stop. These township employees, as I say, no matter how rough I've gotten over the years, and no matter, they have always been true professionals in whatever the discipline is. And to hear the level of this organization, dysfunction, inappropriate leadership, causing township employees the heartache that it's causing, I'm going to come forward in a very direct way, and I'm going to name names and situations, and I'm going to ask Mr. Kersten, Supervisor Kersten, who is the COO, and is the end of the buck stops in that office is to commandeer that staff. It is in your control. You have every authority granted to you under the Township Charter Act for every employee in this building. They ultimately answer to you. And I know that you've been as diplomatic as you can, but these complaints coming out of the Treasurer's office are mounting, and they're ridiculous. And these people do not deserve to be treated that way, and I'd like it to stop. And I say to the employees there, please hang on. We value you, and I appreciate you very, very much. So with that, I will just say thank you to the supervisor again for the quick meeting, which we have tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to public participation and hearing from the residents about what they would like to see in the way of cannabis in this community, which was overwhelmingly approved, as we found out first week of November. Thank you.
Trustee Domingue.
Hope everyone can make it on Thursday night for the tree lighting and to welcome Santa. I'd also like to thank all the people who applied for the new board seats and got appointed. I wish you the best of luck. I'd also like to say thank you to Wendy Jones for the years serving on ZBA and on the Board of Review. Thank you. You're sitting here tonight. Thank you for your time and service for the last several years. And that's all I have. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Thank you. Trustee Vosper.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I too offer congratulations to everyone who got appointed or reappointed to the boards and commissions tonight. And also want to thank those who retired or moved on for other reasons, which are, that's fine. We're all allowed to retire at some point, and thank them for their service. I appreciate all the work that's been going on around. I've seen a lot of work going around this building and the grounds here, getting things ready for the holiday season, a time for families to celebrate, which will be Thursday night with the township, with us, and then with their families throughout the year, and invite everyone to come December and January to walk through the historic village. It's beginning to look quite wintry and sparkly. Thank you.
Treasurer Elliott.
I want to thank everybody who's served on the different boards, and everybody look forward to working with you for the next year, those of you who are freshly appointed. And hope to see everybody on Thursday at the for the tree lighting. And with that, good night.
Clerk Berry.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I would just like to take the opportunity to publicly thank one of our residents, Jack Giraz. I think all of us saw him here. He is going for his Eagle Scout badge, and he attended one of our recent board meetings. And I was honored to be asked by Jack to be the elected official that he chose to interview with regards to the issue of election integrity that he needed to do to complete his badge. And so on Sunday, Jack and I spoke for about an hour about election integrity, and he will be submitting that interview with his other credentials required, or the other requirements necessary for his Eagle Scout badge. And I'd like to congratulate him on that tremendous accomplishment and let him know that I was also very honored to be selected, and we had a wonderful conversation. And I can assure the board that we have some tremendous young people in Chesterfield Township, and we have a bright future ahead of us. So I'm excited to be a part of that. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor.
Real quick, Paul, would you stand up so everybody recognizes you? The reason you weren't familiar with him, and we realize this, is Paul took over Kevin Johnson's assistant director spot, and the email system crashed that week that it came out. Yeah. So when we sent that out, we assumed everybody knew. Yeah. So Paul comes to us from St. Clair Shores, yes, where he was the assistant director of city services, DPW, forestry, extensive history. And he's been a great asset to Mitch and the team at Water and Sewer. And I apologize for not making it clear, but no disrespect to Paul. He's been a great asset to our township employee staff. So.
I know it's out of character, but or out of our normal, but you also had another individual walked in with a stunning haircut, and he serves the township too. And
I'm raising my hands to him, going, "Where you been? Where you been?" Mr. Reneau, thank you for attending. We got you on. You're all good. But thank you for coming. I've probably had one of the most exciting weeks here being in this role as supervisor. And I'll tell you, titles never meant much to me. So when you said supervisor, I wasn't offended. I frankly, that doesn't matter to me. And for anybody to take anything out of that in the audience is ridiculous. Titles never meant much to me. What did is serving the residents of Chesterfield, and that's what we do. No matter what it is, that's what we do. The most exciting week that I've had here is I've had conversations with representatives from the governor's office, MEDC, Macomb County Economic Development, and it's all because of, and I wish I'd go into a lot of detail about this, but unfortunately I can't. But I think next year is going to be one of the most exciting years that we've seen in this township in a long time. The interest in Chesterfield Township is every day. We met with groups on 26 Mile Road that they're all in, and the good thing is they're residents of this community. The group we met with today from out of the state, their interest in Chesterfield is just overwhelming. And I think what we're doing here, and I think the direction that we're going, is the right path and the right direction. And it's due to a lot of the foundation that this board has put together, and a lot of the work that this board has put together prior to me. But we need to keep that momentum flowing and moving and transitioning, and that's what I intend to do. The BSNA transition here, which is the core foundation of what our government is running on computer system-wise, we've had some bumps in the roads, there's been some issues. We're addressing them, we're working with our partners there to fix it, and we will fix it. But as I said when I first asked the board for this approval, this is a 3 to 5 year transition, and there's going to be some technical issues that we need to address, and we will address them and continue improving. I would say that any employee that's not satisfied here and is reaching outside of the HR department, I would direct them back to the HR staff and at least let the HR department manage, and if there is some dissatisfaction, we'd love to hear about it. That's not the environment we work for here. Finally, I'd like to thank the appointees, new and old. It was a joy meeting new energetic young people, as the clerk had indicated, that are interested in the community, that want to participate, and we'll continue to promote that moving forward, and I appreciate your participation. The budget is completed. It has been shared, posted, and we will address that. There is a somewhat uncomfortable video message that's out there, my first one, but we'll get it to you. But it was a joy making, and again, I'll go back to, I think where we're going to go in the next 12 months here is going to be very exciting for this community. There, as was mentioned, there is a meeting tomorrow, November 30th, a joint session of the Township Board and the Planning and Zoning held in this room at 7 p.m. And the agenda is published and posted, and hope to see several people there. So with that being said, I will take a motion to adjourn. Motion to adjourn. Trustee Deming, supported by Trustee Vosberg. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned, 8:17.
I have 8:24.
24, I'm sorry.
I'd like the clerk to report in the township, whatever. You got a big leather book that takes 2 people to open because you should use a fountain, like a feather quill. We got through agenda S by 8:30. 8:30.
I would second that request.
Yeah.
Very impressive.
Thanks. No.